All right, my name is Clay Mitchell. Of course, I'm one of the two assistant principals here at Sienna. I'm going to talk with the climate survey that I had you fill out for me, reflecting things in our school climate. We'll talk about the results, and then we will talk, or I'll talk for just a minute or two, about some of the results, what that told us, and maybe some areas that we want to look on, discussing, talking about, maybe doing professional development with as far as the faculty. First of all, to go over with, so we're all on the same page about our school demographics. As of right now, we have about 620 students. The breakdown of that as far as ethnicity is that is 62% white, 22% black, 10% Hispanic, and 6% multi-race. We have 32 highly qualified teachers, 3 school administrators, and as a school system in Oxford, also in our school in particular at Sienna, we are 62% free and reduced lunch participation, which is always a point that brings up a lot of discussion when you're talking with groups outside of school. We, of course, know that, but a lot of people in Oxford do not realize that our school system, because we, just to be honest, because we perform so well overall academically, typically you don't see schools at 60–65% overall free and reduced population be able to perform at a level like you heard with our superintendent, Dr. Gilbert, mentioned that I think we were ranked number 20 in the state. Usually that's not typical to see, so I think that is a good reflection of our school system and a great reflection of the job that you do every day. Our faculty home language, what we use as our home language as a faculty, and again, I had a sample size of 32. I broke that down into a 10 N number, a 10 sample size as far as the way I reported the results. 9 of the 10 spoke English at home, 1 spoke Hispanic, and none spoke other, which of course that has its own implications when you're talking about the culture of a school, but we'll save that for another time. Our gender demographics. The survey population again was 10 that I used, so in that population it was 70% or 7 female, 3 or 30% male. Surprisingly, that's not a lot off of our overall school population, which is 88% female and 12% male. And on a side note, most of you, all of you know this, but having worked at different levels of schools, what you find, or what I have found, having worked at 4 different schools with ranges from kindergarten to 8th grade, is that the lower you go in grade, meaning 6th grade down, I think that number is skewed even more as far as percentage of female versus male. If you get in the middle and high school, secondary level, I think that number changes, not drastically, but it does change quite a bit as far as male to female population. But anyway, for our school, we're 88% female, 12% male. The ethnicity for our school, the sample population was 70% or 7 white and 30% or 3 black. Our faculty population is 85% white, 14% black, and 1% Hispanic. And in just a minute, I'm going to talk about implications that has versus our student population, because that's a factor that I think we as a school system and we as a school need to take into consideration when we're talking about the climate of our survey and how the students feel about the climate of our school. Teaching experience, this was a number that was interesting for me to see. We have only 3 teachers here at Sienna that have less than 5 years experience, but interesting to me is we have 9 that have 20 or more years experience, 9 being almost a third of our 32 highly qualified teachers. I can't speak for other school systems, but I know within our school system, like I said, having worked at 4 different schools, that is not typical in my experience anyway, as far as having that amount of teachers, or that number of teachers having 20 or more years experience, which I think is a huge asset. I know it has been to me as an administrator, because a lot of the teachers that are in that 9, I have gone to, with ideas and said, you've done this longer than I have. What do you think about this? A lot of things you can learn in school, a lot of things you can learn, but there's just some things that you don't learn like you do with experience. So I think that is not only a huge asset for our students, I think that is a huge asset for us as a school. Educational level for this school as a faculty. Again, in the sample population of 10, there were 6 with bachelor's degrees, 3 with master's degrees, and 1 with EDS. I have worked at a school, there was a faculty member with a doctorate degree that was not in administration. That's the only time that I've seen that. I'm not saying that it doesn't occur
more often than not, but I know in my experience, I've only seen that once, that someone at the doctorate level was not in administration or at the central office.
Real quick, I won't go over every number here. This is a breakdown of our 25 question questionnaire or survey. Question 11 that I highlighted in green mentioned the statement actually says that the teacher would benefit from more professional development provided by the district. And I noted here that of course it was only one, that one was not sure and one that disagreed. My thinking, of course, I've been in education 15 years, so I don't believe or promote having professional development or meetings just for the sake of having professional developments and meetings. But I do think, as I think a lot of you will agree, with the changes that have occurred in our state in education and nationally, especially in the past 3 to 4 years, that I would think there would have been, I would have assumed that it would have been all 10 would have been agreed or strongly agreed on professional development, from the change in testing to the change in school incidences that we've had, those type of things. But that was interesting to me. That's one reason that I noted that. Okay, this is question 13 through 25, so I'll go over, there's a couple of points that I want to make here. Question 13, or statement 13, said that some children carry guns or knives in the school. If you notice here, 2, we're not sure which is almost kind of humorous at first until you think about that. Then I started thinking about it, and I thought that may say something about our district and school climate, as far as, I know for a while there was a big push, especially with the occurrence in Shady Hook, of school safety, promoting professional development on that. So I wondered, like its tendency to do with all people, have we as a nation or as a school district become a little lax? Not saying we have, it just made me think, things happen and everyone gets to the point where they want to make that a big issue, and then it kind of dies down. So with that, it made me wonder, is that something maybe as a school that we need to promote a little more, meaning with professional development, but not just that, also with how we talk and what we talk to the students about. Same thing with number 15. 15 said that I address bullying in my classroom at least once a month. And you can see that 6 of the 10 either disagreed or strongly disagreed, meaning that they did not do that. I do understand we have character ed, we have things that we do on our broadcast that have to do with character education. But with that having been such an issue, as you know, in the past few years, along with violence in the school, bullying and harassment, it made me wonder, is that something as a school system and district that we need to revisit, like all school systems did with Shady Hook? Do we need to revisit that and think maybe we need to promote more professional development, just to not let happen what tends to happen, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, with all of us, that things happen not only in school but in life, and we jump on board and that becomes a big priority to us, and then as time goes on, the shock of it wears off. So it made me wonder if maybe that's something we want to look at as an overall school or our school climate. Question 18, or statement 18, said that teachers are not fair to some students at this school. And had 2 that agree, which made me wonder also, is it something that we need to talk about or look at as a faculty, not necessarily professional development on ethical and moral treatment, how we treat students? I don't believe that we have an issue here with students being purposely mistreated, but apparently this tells me there's at least a perception of some kind, that there is some kind of treatment of students that maybe is not what we want it to be, or that they don't think it should be. So that may be something that we want to look at also as a school. Statement 23 says students in the school will have difficulty with core academic subjects regardless of the strength of instruction. And you can see that 5 either agreed or strongly agreed that our students are going to have problems regardless of the instruction. Now when I first read that, I thought, well, yes, some students, they're going to have trouble no matter what you do. But then I thought, is that speaking on that, or does that speak more of someone's mentality or mindset of if the students have the ability or the capability to excel regardless of what we do? I know that all of you and I are in this profession because we love children. We want to help children, and we get children wherever they're at. So that made me wonder if maybe that is something that we need to look at on professional development. I don't know what area to go into, maybe possibly reasons for education, reasons for advancing your degree, those type of things. Why, in other words,
maybe self-reflect as a school on why do we do what we do.
And the last one that I highlighted was the last statement, 25, that said that racial barriers to educational and economic opportunity no longer exist in the U.S. And 7 disagree or strongly disagree that those barriers do not any longer exist. Of course, I know that speaks on a much bigger framework than just a school. That speaks about our country and about our culture. But that also made me wonder, because we can't control what goes on outside of the walls of our school, but we do have some say on what goes on here. Is that something as a school system and district, and we have, but is that something that we need to revisit again, thinking back to the 60s and 70s, and think about how those things and those issues have gone away from the forefront? Is that something that we need to look at? Because like we just saw, or like we're about to see, our student population is big as far as minority, blacks, Hispanics, and that's going to increase, which means we have got to adapt as a school system and a school to accommodate and fit that, so that we make sure those students are successful, like all the students. And this is the results that I picked as some areas of concern that maybe we want to consider when it comes to the survey of the climate of our school. Number 1, or the top one, the school district I know is striving in conversations with our superintendent and conversations about my job and where I'm being placed, to have the faculty demographics reflect the student population. Again, we mentioned the number of, for instance, black faculty members, percentage-wise, reflecting and matching that of the student number. Of course, we said our population is 12% black. We know that our student population is much higher than that. So working on getting good quality teachers in minority groups that can reflect that student population, which of course seems to me would work to help promote performance with students. You know, they being able to hopefully to relate more to that. So I know that's something that we're working on, and I know from talking with Dr. Given that is something that we'll continue to work on. And I also put that we as a school, I think, need to promote it more for our teachers to pursue professional development. You know that you have to have so many clock hours of professional development, summertime and other times, but us promoting, and I feel like part of my job as administrator is to find quality professional development to make you aware of that will benefit you. I know you, like me, are not interested in summertime going to a meeting just to say I got X number of hours. It needs to be something that's productive, that we bring back to the school, that works for the student population that we have. I know our professional development needs are not the same as this school or this school, so we need to look at and talk about, as an administration, I mean, what professional development opportunities can we be looking for that will benefit our teachers based on our students? All teachers emphasizing and being involved with school safety, not necessarily a conference or professional development always, but just in discussion and how we promote school safety. Thinking back to the results I showed you about our perception of students carrying weapons, students being involved or being a victim of harassment and bullying. And that goes to the last point, teachers encouraged to participate in professional development. There's a lot of that out there, as you know, like I mentioned. Columbine and moving forward to Shady Hook, when those things have happened, that type of professional development opportunities has increased greatly. So it's not that there's a lack of professional development there. I think it's a lack of maybe myself and administration making teachers aware of that and making it available to them in a way that they can have access to it, and also making it relevant to them based on, again, our students and what kind of issues do we deal with within our school. So those are some points that I think will be interesting for us to look at as a faculty to possibly increase and improve what our overall feelings are about the climate of our school. That's it.